Before as Douglas Herbert joins me on the set for more on this. Doug, 5 years, is it really possible to rebuild Notre Dame after all the damage we've seen?
Look, a lot of the specialists and experts in this type of renovation, very tricky renovation, you don't have to be pessimistic to say they think it is overly ambitious. If it's going to be done properly, past precedent suggests it can, as we've been reporting, take not 5 years, but perhaps 10 years, even decades. Remember, Reims Cathedral was bombed by the Germans beginning of World War I. The renovation work actually, from the time it started, took almost 20 years. We're talking about a massively costly, a complex and a monumental renovation project because the roof was gutted, the medieval roof, the wooden roof. The spire was destroyed, as we know. The 300-foot spire there, the part that was under renovation. The bell towers, yes, were preserved. Those famous twin bell towers were preserved. But if you look at the interior, and we saw the first images as well that were released in the past couple of days, a massive amount of debris, and not just any debris. We're talking about, very, very scarce medieval debris has to be sifted through. It has to be sorted. We're still in the very, very beginning phases of having to do the damage, the stabilizing the structure. A lot of the stones were weakened even before the fire by a lot of water seepage. Does that mean perhaps the stone ceiling, the vault itself, might have to be destroyed because it's simply too structurally unstable? These are questions yet to be answered. So the stabilization is underway. Then you have to do a long, perhaps, damage assessment. You can imagine a complex as vast as Notre Dame, how long that's going to take. And only then can you really begin the restoration work. And as you know, I don't need to tell you, it's not any restoration job. You have to literally call upon international experts in stained glass windows, in stone cutting, in medieval stone masonry, engineers who understand the complexities of arched vaulting and the fine balance in medieval Gothic-era cathedrals. These people you don't just find them walking down the street. You have to go looking for them. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of coordination. That's why 5 years, even if with the best of intentions and you want to look like you're determined and bring that collective spirit together, they're saying if you're going to do this right, it's going to take longer than that. Before you can even begin the restoration, it's going to take a while.
And Doug, there's another piece of this puzzle which we need to remind people about, is that the fire happened in the midst of these yellow vest anti-government protests that have been going on for over 5 months. Is this reconstruction being politicized? Is Emmanuel Macron trying to use it to his advantage?
Look, explicitly so? Obviously not. Emmanuel Macron hasn't gotten up there and said, wow, thank God this happened because this is a moment now where we can turn, all of my domestic criticism and me being under fire into a moment of national mourning and national unity that could perhaps work to my advantage. Of course he's not saying that. Is it probably in the back of his mind as a politician? Yeah, perhaps. And is that perhaps one of the factors in this very accelerated, as some see a timeline, the 5 years? Look, let's face it. On the day of the fire, on the night of the fire, the fact is Emmanuel Macron was about to make an extremely long-anticipated speech after months of his grand debate, touring France, giving these town hall meetings. Finally, the nation was waiting to hear this speech, which was ostensibly to give answers, solutions. What are we going to do? What have I heard from you, and how am I going to address it? That speech he obviously canceled. He's delayed it. And what he's essentially done, he is as distressed as millions of French are by what happened at this tragedy at Notre Dame. But he's also, in a sense, you can say, using it to advantage in a sense of seizing on now that sense of national mourning, because France has reacted to this in many ways, whether you think it's right or wrong, as if it's under attack. It's reacted to it almost as you would in wartime, the sense of mourning, the sense of loss for a fire, which the one silver lining is it did not ultimately destroy Notre Dame. It is still standing. But trying to seize on that collective spirit, there's even been a political truce in France, where at a time before the European elections, there's a lot of political jockeying, a lot of division, a lot of polarization. Politicians are at their throats like never before. They've actually, in the wake of this fire, they called off their European election campaigning. So there is a sense of coming together, and there is a sense, and perhaps you could say, do you blame Emmanuel Macron trying to seize on that moment at a time of bitter divisions in France to at least say maybe we could salvage a sense of national unity. Maybe this tragedy, we could bring some good out of it by reminding people there are purposes, there are things larger than what some might say, our petty political divisions.
Doug, thanks for that. France 24's Doug Herbert.